Evening, everyone. Welcome to the Arseholics podcast. It's been a little while, but we are back. I am really excited to be back in front of a microphone after I think it's been about 5 or 6 months. So I think, first of all, we need to apologize. We need to apologize to our 7 subscribers that we've got. That you guys have not been able to get any Arseholics content since probably middle of last season. We've just been busy, but we're back. We're going to try and be as consistent as possible, a lot more consistent with the uploads and the podcast, and giving you guys as much content as possible. So thank you for tuning in, as always. Thank you for the support. Before I introduce my fellow Arseholics guests, the last time that the 3 of us, or 4 of us, including me, saw each other was actually in Budapest. So we haven't seen, obviously we've been speaking on WhatsApp, and we've all been speaking about Arsenal and football over the last couple of months, but we haven't seen each other since Budapest. So it's actually it's a bit weird now, seeing you guys for the first time properly in 2.5, 3 months, whatever it's been. But anyway, I'm Maj, your host. We have Chooks, Raj, and I guess you could call it a special appearance because this guy made less appearances on the podcast than Christian Norgard did for Arsenal last season. Aaron, welcome back to the pod, mate. How is everyone doing?
What is going on? Yeah, it's good to be back. Thanks for having me back.
Aaron, and I think this is the first time that you and I have actually podcasted together, mate. I think this might be the first time ever, and I'm pretty stoked and excited about it.
You know what it reminds me of? It's like, did you see that video on the Arsenal Instagram where Reece Nelson came back on loan and he was just welcoming everyone? I feel a bit like that where I'm like, oh, what's going on? What's been happening a year that I've
exactly. You did one good podcast on a Bournemouth game, and that's been it for your whole Arsenal career.
I'm clinging on to that. Yeah, it is good to be back though, and no, I'm delighted. I think this is the first time this podcast has been on since we won the league.
It is.
Yeah,
so it is the podcast of champions.
Myers is saying it's the first time he's been behind a mic. Right? Myers has been dropping content every few days for the last 3 months. What are we talking about?
I'm trying.
First time behind a mic for a month.
Yeah.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying for the benefit of the podcast, right? It was get my own kind of stuff out there, and then the podcast, there'll be loads of people watching us when we come back. But yeah, I'm trying. Thanks, Raj, for the little shout out there. All right, boys. Look, it is genuinely exciting to be back and talking about Arsenal because, like Aaron said, the last time that we spoke, or this is the first time that we've spoken since we've been crowned Premier League champions, and it still sounds very, very sweet, very, very nice to say that out loud. That Arsenal are Premier League champions, and I know that we're gonna enjoy it as long as we possibly can, probably until next May, until potentially there's another title winner, unless it's us again, but. Look, we're going to talk about in the next hour and a half. We're going to talk about our thoughts for the season coming up. We're 3 days away from opening the season against Coventry. We're going to talk about pre-season. We're going to talk about the Community Shield the other day. We're going to talk about transfers, and we've got a whole bunch of predictions that we're going to go through as well, which should be really interesting because I've seen them. You guys have sent them all in to me. There's a lot of common ground there, and there's a few interesting ones as well. Aaron comes back with a bit of a bang, I think. So yeah, that will be good to look at. But look, I just wanted to talk about kind of pre-season, how it's gone so far, including transfers. And I think that there's a lot to talk about, obviously, but we're going to have to try and condense it down as much as we can. In terms of pre-season, right? Like I don't know about you guys, I take pre-season with I guess a pinch of salt in that. For 2 reasons. One is it's preseason. I think you can only judge so much on these preseason games when you've got players coming back from, a World Cup and you don't have your full strength side or your full strength squad. You've got players like Reece Nelson and other players that are probably not going to be part of the setup this season, getting minutes. But then also, I think that I think because there's just so much football to consume as well, I like to just switch off a little bit. So I've not really watched too much of preseason myself. I've obviously kept an eye on how the games have gone and results and scores and things like that and seen the highlights, but I've not watched too much of myself. But I'll come to you first, Raj. I don't know how much you've watched of it, but how do you feel like how well prepared do you feel like we are for the season, given, we've only got a couple of days till it starts? Is Raj talking? Can you guys hear me?
I can hear him. He seems to be struggling to unmute himself.
It sounds like he's
having. I was struggling to unmute. I was struggling to mute, but sorry, I'm back. To answer your question, I mean, if you had asked me that before the Community Shield, I'd probably give you a different answer to what I'm saying now, because I think before the Community Shield, if I was to evaluate preseason, taking the caveats of not taking preseason so seriously, there wasn't that much to hang a positive on apart from the performances of maybe one or two players. We didn't look particularly good at anything in preseason. Defending in particular, we looked pretty poor. I mean, our results up until the Community Shield, I think we played 4 games. We won 1, drew 1, lost 2. We didn't look particularly good. I think the only things that were quite common were we were clearly trying to play slightly differently or trying different things in preseason. And one, I think, was the central overloads. We're doing a lot more of that in preseason than we'd been doing last season. It seemed like there was just much more of an effort to get more combination through the center, and having fullbacks overlap, basically replicating the goal that we scored against City in the Community Shield first. That theme was happening a lot in preseason, whether we were successful or not in executing the moves. There was a lot more centrality to what we were doing, and also just being more vertical. We were a lot more vertical in preseason and lost the ball a lot more as a result. But we were a lot more vertical overall in preseason. And I think also is just balancing out the left and right hand side. There wasn't as much going down on the right, but maybe that's because Saka wasn't really involved in preseason. So those were the things that were observations of mine. But, I think that I probably wouldn't have been as pleased as I am after the Community Shield. I mean, when, after the Community Shield, I think it puts a whole different gloss on preseason, right? Because you watch the Community Shield game, and I know we'll talk about it in more detail, but it certainly feels after watching that game, all the prep was worth it. All the prep was right. And we finished up in a good place.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think the Community Shield, because from what I saw in preseason, it didn't really look like we were ready. And I think when you combine that with some of the failings in the transfer window so far, you could argue maybe a contentious point there, but it just didn't feel like we were quite ready. You had lots of players coming back from the World Cup, lots of players that played loads of minutes, people like Declan Rice. And there was a bit of a concern going into the Community Shield. I was worried about what the result was going to be, but yeah, were we ready? Are we ready? Because that is like the season opener, and it is a big game, even though the result in the grand scheme of things and with a long season ahead, it probably doesn't matter. But you want to get off to a good start. You don't want to get pummeled like was what we basically did to City. So I was pleasantly surprised with the start. We started really strong in that game, and we kept that performance up throughout the entire 90 minutes, and it was a really impressive performance. I think we just really, really dominated City. And it was super impressive. But yeah, like Aaron and Raj have spoken a little bit about sort of preseason transfers wise. As I said, I feel like we obviously know the areas that we're targeting, right? It's very, very clear from the players that we've gone for and basically missed out on so far in the window. Like how, given again 3 days, is it till Coventry? I think the window closes not too long, couple more weeks. For me, it feels like we're still like really, really short, knowing that there's probably a couple of big exits on the way. How are you feeling about it? And are you confident that like we're going to get what we need in?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm a bit more relaxed than most people from what I see online. Like, I know you guys say, like, I think you said the word failing. Like, I think you've got, and the baseline here is that we're coming at this from the team that is capable of winning the league, right? And I like, we can chat about a bit more about this later on, where there are clearly things we need to get better at, because I think we all accept, as good as it was, we really limped over that line in the end. Like, we almost messed it up at one point. So this is a team that is definitely good enough to challenge, right? And the question is, can we get better? And really, like, the goal now, as we saw, is to go that one game further and like win the Champions League. And like, that is the goal now. How do we retain our title? And how do we go, literally, how do we score one more goal in one more game to win us the double. And I think the way I looked at it is like we clearly needed some firepower in attack. The midfield, I think, needed a little bit of a refresh, and then defense. If you'd asked me before the World Cup, like I would have been perfectly fine not doing anything with our defense, because I think our defense had the numbers. And obviously, the big thing is the Saliba injury, which we have no idea how bad that is. I'm worried about that because I have a feeling the Saliba one could be a really bad one. So then I think my priorities shifted to say, actually, like, we need to sort out the defense, because a bad defense can really this team is built on defense, right? And if we lose that, then we're in trouble. And then, with the way Solis has started, I'm a bit more relaxed to say, like, I don't think our attack will be it's very hard for our attack to be as bad as it was last season again, because I mean, like, we had so many injuries. Saka wasn't doing anything. Like, what are the chances again of, I don't want to jinx this, but like Saka, Havertz, Odegaard, Marino, all basically not contributing at all in a season? And even if one of those guys just steps up, I think we take a step forward in attack. Is it enough to win the Champions League? Like, probably not. We do still need that elite quality, but I'm a bit calmer now about the attack than I was maybe at the start of the summer. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, I mean, Chooks was nodding along when I was talking about, do you feel like we're short? Sounds like you do feel like that, Chooks. I just want to look, I'm really keen to hear about you hear your thoughts on that, but I'm also just keen to hear specifically, because like, obviously the left-hand side, right? We've signed Solis and he looks like he could be a fantastic player for us, right? It looks like on the face of it, after a couple of games, we've bagged an absolute bargain. But we obviously know we wanted that superstar on the left-hand side, whether that was going to be Morgan Rogers, Vinny, or someone else. And it hasn't happened yet. And obviously we know the club are working on someone, but the options are now, there's not many. Linked with Yildiz, we're linked with Barcola. They sound like the two most likely options, but even then, they sound like very difficult deals to get done. But I'm just keen to hear, Chooks, like on that left-hand side, if we were to go into this season, I mean, like, it's pretty unthinkable that we'd go into the season with just Solis on that side, if assuming Martinelli goes, and then you've got Eze as a potential option on the left, but not really, because Arteta doesn't fancy him there. So, like, you'd have to think that we're going to get someone, but for me anyway, as each day passes, to get a deal the size of like a Barcola done, just feels like it just feels more and more remote as each day passes. But do you agree with that, or do you think, do you feel confident that we're going to get someone in on that left hand side?
So I guess let me start with a positive. Right, 1, delighted to be back. 2, delighted that we're champions. 3, delighted with the outlook for the season. Now let me balance it up with some kind of opposite direction perspectives. I am concerned that we are short. Specifically, to answer your question, Solis, I've loved his performances so far, right? He clearly is someone who's going to be able to contribute. He has been very positive in terms of his outputs, but going into the season with Solis and Martinelli really worries me, and for a couple of reasons. I think Solis has clearly shown he's great against other teams who are happy to come and attack us. I haven't seen, maybe you guys have, but I haven't seen what he's like against teams with like a really low block. And we need to be able to unlock that defense. I haven't seen that. And we know that, look, Martinelli, and this is what I'm saying, sorry to start on a bit of a negative, but Martinelli is going to be able to contribute from that perspective. So we clearly need someone on that left who can unlock similarly to the way that Saka can do it on the right. Solis, he may be the guy, but at the moment, it's unknown. So if we don't get somebody else in, and whether that is a Barcola or another Yildiz or another left winger, I think we need somebody else. Hopefully it is a really strong signing, but even just from a squad perspective, we need another option on that left. And that's not the only position that I think we are short on. So yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic. Let's put it that way. But at the same time, because he's clearly proven that he can contribute. But at the same time, mate, I think if this window shuts and we don't have any other options, especially on that left, I become worried. I turn up at the Emirates every week, worried again.
But Chooks, let me try and put you on the spot a bit here. Let's say we don't sign anyone, we go into the season with Martinelli and Solis and everyone else in attack. Like, forget about the defense for a second. Do you think that's enough to win the league? No.
And now there's obviously an element of depends on how all the other teams are going to do. But let's say let's roll it back 1 year, mate. Let's say if this was us last year, and it was still a Pep team, because that's always been my and you guys would have seen the videos I shared. Pep was like my biggest fear. Has always been my biggest fear for years, right? And City in general. If we were going into the season with just Solis and Martinelli, I am pessimistic about the league. Now, going into this year, as we all know, and I think you guys are in the same vein, because you know my view. Last year was win the league, nothing else, win the league. This year it is, yes, win the league. That's what I want to do. But I'm hell bent focused on Champions League. If all we have is Martinelli and Solis, for me, forget Champions League and question mark on the league.
I don't think there's always a question mark, but I go back to what I said earlier. Fitness is going to be so key, right? If we keep Saka fit, if we get Odegaard fit, Havertz fit, Marino fit, there are enough goals in that team and enough quality to mitigate for not signing another left winger. Like, obviously, if they go, then
that's not going to happen. You know, and I know it. I mean, Saka was looking great, but all those guys, they're a gust of wind away from an injury, and I mean, what you said there, keep all them fit. It's not keep all them fit. Two of them go down again. We're done. You know, take out Saka, take out Odegaard. Again, we're stuffed. If all you're left with is Solis and Martinelli on the left, and Havertz up front, right? Maybe with Gyökeres, we're stuffed. That is why it's not all of them. Literally, two of them, pick any two, and all of a sudden, you're struggling.
Saka's the one I'm probably more concerned about, actually, because it seems like it might not even be a case where it's a concern that he might keep picking up injuries. I'm a bit worried that he's just lost something physically. And when you see a lot of people break it down, physios try and break down how they see him running, how they see him training. If there's a concern I have about any of that bunch from a long-term perspective, it is him. You know, to your point, Chooks, can they replicate the sort of numbers that Aaron's talking about? Saka's the one I have a concern about. I mean, Odegaard's interesting because actually, if you look back on his numbers, last season was an exception. He kind of had a 22 goal assist season, then he had another 22 goal assist season, then he had a 17 goal assist season, and then last season was like this anomaly. So let's just assume it was an anomaly because of those like various random shoulder injuries. And actually, from the signs of preseason, he looks pretty good. So, I mean, there is a chance, like what Aaron says happens, kind of happens. But, you know, just sort of tying this back in, Aaron, to what you said at the beginning and, you know, kind of the response to, I think, Miser's point around how's the window gone? I think you can judge windows in very different ways, right? You can have a plan, you can successfully execute against the plan, and it can be a shit plan. Yeah, that's like one thing that can happen. You can have a plan, you can not execute correctly against that plan, but actually the outcomes can be okay. At the moment, what it looks like is that we had a plan. Whatever that plan was, we've not executed against it. Because whether we like it or not, whether we agreed or not, they really wanted Rodgers, whether we all agree that we should have Rodgers or not, but they didn't get him. But it sounded like Barcola was a second choice left winger. It doesn't sound like we've kept that warm enough. It sounded like Alvarez was kind of this sort of hope. It doesn't really look like that's happening. Vinny was this opportunistic thing and it would have been amazing. That didn't really happen. So whatever we were planning to do up top, clearly plan A and plan B is not happened. So we may end up with a good outcome. Even if we sign no one and the season is successful, you could kind of go, okay, ends justify the means. But I think the point is, it's a failed window so far if you assume that they had a plan.
Yeah.
I agree. If that happened, let's give it 2 weeks, right? Because with all these things, you never know. Like, we might have been speaking to a guy from day one and we're just waiting to another player to go or something else to happen. But I agree. I think your point is right. Like, if at least based on what we have, I think the ideal plan is you get all of these guys in for preseason, you get your business done, a bit like we did last year. But I just think with the World Cup and the way it's been, I'm cutting them a bit of slack for not being like, it just looks like no one's ready on day one. Like, no one is going to be done the business they want. No one has gotten the attackers they want in. Not that many big name attackers have moved around yet. Right? So let's see. I just think the last week of the window, I think deadline day is just going to be mental. I think everyone is going to be gunning for it. Everyone's going to be reacting. And then, let's see what we end up with. But I'm quietly optimistic that even if we don't sign anyone, we will hopefully not have as bad an injury situation as we did last year.
But Aaron, if we don't sign anyone, are you saying that you reckon Martinelli stays?
Yeah,
because it looks like, for all intents and purposes, he's out the door. Like,
I don't know. I don't agree with that either. I don't agree. I don't know why we didn't put him on the bench on Sunday. I thought that was very strange.
But still on that, well, who would you not put on the bench then?
Yeah,
we didn't need to put Dalman on the bench. Yeah, I think we had Madueke, Saka, and Dalman on the bench, right?
Dalman wasn't on the bench, was he?
Yeah, but Dalman might genuinely start.
Was Dalman on the bench?
Right, Dalman was on the bench, right? But he might genuinely start.
No, I remember looking at that because the first thing I said was that you clearly only got
on
1, 2, 3, 4, 8, like 8 subs or whatever it is. Yeah, I felt like I just felt it was a bit disrespectful if you want to send a message to Martinelli, to do it like that. Like, this isn't a guy that has been like, he's not Gabriel Jesus, right? Like, if you want to do that to Gabriel Jesus, fine, go do that to Gabriel Jesus, right? But don't, like, Martinelli, like, really, for all his faults, he chipped in last season. So let's see, because there's every chance we might need him. Like, I still think if you ask me now what are the odds he is here on the 1st of September, I would say like 70% chance he's still here. Not because we want to keep him, but because we won't have done what we need to do.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, the options on that left-hand side are running out. I actually think we're going to go for Barcola. I know it has gone quiet on that. There's never really been any substantial talk about him, but I think because there's not really anyone else, Alvarez is an option, but he's not really he's not a left-sided player. He's kind of like a false nine. Are we going to sign him? Potentially, but then you've kind of got 3 forwards with Havertz and Gyökeres and him. I don't know. He obviously wants Barcelona as well, like very clearly wants Barcelona. So I'm not sure he's actually even going to want to come to Arsenal. And I think Barcola was left out of the squad for the PSG game the other day. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think he made the squad. So it looks like he wants to move, and it might end up being a case of, like you said, Aaron, in last week or two of the window is going to be a bit of a mad rush, and we could get into a bit of a bidding war because obviously we know that Barcola is 100 and I don't know what the number is, 110, 120 million, something like that. And it feels like our hand is going to be forced where we're going to have to end up paying seriously over the odds. But I do like Barcola, so I'd be pretty happy with him if he came, to be honest. I think he is an upgrade, and that's what we've been looking for the last couple of years on that left-hand side.
I also think that there's still a world here where Eze ends up on that left. I just have this feeling. I really do. I don't know if we're going to bring in both a left winger and also a striker. I think it's going to be potluck. It's going to be one of the two, right? Because we hear talk about Barcola, we hear talk about Alvarez, we hear talk about Osimhen, et cetera. And the way it's currently looking, it's not going to be both. We would have we wanted both, a new left wing and a new striker, but I think it's going to be one of the two. And I just have this feeling because currently I don't see necessarily, except for either coming on off the bench or if Odegaard, if Odegaard maintains the level that he's maintaining right now, I don't necessarily see where Eze fits in that team. And Eze's a fantastic player, right? He's still a player that you would want somewhere on that pitch. I just have this feeling that there may be something brewing with trying to kind of get Eze more as a left winger, because that midfield is now just so stacked with so many players. And just where does he fit? Where there's a logical, natural potential space out on that left, if they can get him just feeling much more natural out there. That is my gut instinct, is we're going to get some kind of combo of Eze out on that left wing. I just feel that's going to happen. Because otherwise, what are you going to do with him, right? What is going to happen with Eze? And he's not necessarily the kind of player that you just say, "Oh, it's all right, leave him." He's got some mad skills. So that's my gut instinct. It's not based on anything. It's just my gut.
Okay.
Don't you think it'll be like last season, and Eze will just
go on, Raj.
Have I got a delay?
Slightly, but it's okay. Go for it.
What I was saying is, don't you just think it'll just be like last season, and Eze will play at 10, he'll play on the left. It'll just be a case of rotating depending on the opposition. Like I see what you mean. I think he will play games on the left, but I think that'll be in the exact same way that he played games on the left last season. I can't imagine suddenly he becomes like plan A on the left.
I mean, I hear you, but he was a square peg in a round hole on the left last season, right? They played him on the left, but it just didn't work just because of the type of player that he is. Whereas, I think they if they haven't, it just makes sense to have actually work on him, to try and get him thinking more like a winger and how effective he can be on that wing with the skills he's got. And look, it wouldn't even surprise me if potentially, right, similar to MLS, only where and when he is needed to play. Maybe we don't see that much of Eze the whole season, because they actually work with him, trying to get him properly playing like a left winger. Like we didn't see much of MLS last season because they were properly trying to get him to play like a midfielder. Then all of a sudden he just emerged out of nowhere towards the end of the season as an actual effective, proper, like almost first choice midfield, where
But you can do that with MLS, though, can't you, though, mate? Because he's
young.
18,
Yeah, I get
19.
it. I get it. But because Eze already had some skills on the left, I just, like I said, I just have this feeling.
All right, cool. I wanna move on to predictions, because, like I said, we have quite a few of them to go through. We might need to just talk through some of them. But if there were any kind of, like, you might have heard some technical issues there. The first episode back, you guys are going to have to forgive us and bear with us. A few gremlins in the system and all of that. But I wanted to also just say thanks, because there's been a number of comments while we've been talking. So I'm just going to pull a couple up here. So Shani, cheers for tuning in. Yes, I have expanded my grey hair collection, especially in the beard. Last season took it out of me massively. But yes, we were rewarded with the league, so we're happy. Charles, hello, mate. He's very happy to see you, Aaron, as we all are. So nice welcome back for you there.
Thank you, Charles. Very kind.
Russ, good to have you back as well, mate. Thanks for tuning in, as always. And Chan, who I'm meeting with tomorrow. So I'm going to plug tomorrow's episode. So we are doing another pod tomorrow with Chan. So Chan is the man behind the Lower North Bank account. So if you don't follow him, go and follow him. You probably already do. And even if you don't follow him, you would have seen Chan's content somewhere on social media previously, because he is one of the, if not the kind of primary photographer for the club. He does his own stuff as well, but he does a lot of work for the club, lots of behind the scenes stuff, lots of stuff that you just won't get an opportunity to see elsewhere. And it's brilliant, brilliant work. So I'm going to be talking to Chan tomorrow about Arsenal, about the stuff that he does do with the club last season, which was an unbelievable season. So tune into that tomorrow night. Who else have we got? I did see another. Oh yeah, Aravind. I'll just pull this one up as well. Cheers, Aravind, for tuning in. He just basically mentioned that he thinks Bruno G is the answer to us losing Xhaka a couple of seasons ago. And maybe him and Rice in midfield gives Odegaard the freedom he's missed. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, without talking about it too long, I think Bruno, absolutely fantastic signing. You know, a very, very top player. Right, I am going to try and do something that we haven't done before, which is share my screen. So obviously, if you're listening on the pod, you're not going to be able to see this, but we'll talk you guys through it. So we have pulled together. Can you guys see that, or can you just see what can you see?
No, we can see the picture.
Okay, is it?
Yeah, it looks good.
Full screen.
Yeah.
It's full screen. Okay, cool. Okay, brilliant. Because it doesn't look full screen to me. It looks very different how it looked before. Oh, there we go. Okay. Right. So we have done some predictions. The guys have submitted in predictions for the season across a number of different categories. So I've seen all of them. Raj, Chooks, and Aaron, and haven't seen each other's. So this should be quite interesting. So, like I said, some of them we're just going to have to skip through quite quickly. Otherwise, we'll be here talking about them for a long time. So, first one is, who do we think is going to finish in the top 5 in the Premier League? In no particular order, I should add. So, I think we've all got Arsenal, which is a good start. We've all got City. We've all got Chelsea. We've all got Liverpool. So the only variations are Raj has gone for Villa. I've gone for United. Aaron's gone for Villa. And Chooks has gone for United. So my rationale for United, just really quickly over anyone else, basically, is I think that they looked, I mean, you couldn't have looked much worse after Amorim. But I think Carrick really stabilised United. I know that they've now got Champions League to deal with and a whole host of additional games. They haven't really been active in the transfer market. But I think some of the players that they bought last summer, when I think of Mbemo, Cunha, Sesko, which was that last summer or the year before? Was it last summer? I think it was last summer. I think those players, especially Sesko, who I was really impressed with towards the back end of last season, I think they could all be firing. If they keep Bruno Fernandes, which I think they will, I think they've got just a pretty settled team. I really like the keeper, Lamans. I just think that they are, for me, they're nailed on for top 4, top 5. I think they're nailed on for top 5. And it sounds like Chooks agrees with me, but Rajesh, Aaron, and you both said Villa, which I'm really surprised with, to be honest. But yeah, one of you want to talk me through why you say Villa?
I think my rationale was
why are you surprised?
Yeah. My rationale was just on teams that haven't changed that much. And Villa, they were in and about it last year. I think Emery is just a consistent, 5th place manager. He is that guy that he just optimizes everything to just finish 5th. And we can touch upon Man United in a bit, maybe a bit later on. But I'm pretty low on Man United for a number of reasons. And I just think Villa just got a consistent team. Let's see what happens with Watkins as well, because they could lose Watkins, and that could change things. Obviously, lost Tielemans, they lost Rodgers, but I really like that guy. They've signed whose name I cannot remember now. Let me Google it quickly.
I mean, they've also
Manzambi. Manzambi looks like a good player.
Yeah, he is.
Did they sign Garnacho in the end?
Yes, they did, right?
They signed Garnacho.
Yeah, they did.
That's probably a reason for them to not finish in the top 5.
No. But I mean, I just think I think there's so much change in the Premier League. What I value is just, I think if you've kept your manager and you broadly haven't completely dismantled your team too much, I think, like I said, I think Watkins might be a step too far.
They have dismantled their team. Would you not say?
They've lost Rodgers up Tielemans.
Watkins is Emi Martinez. I know that we've got our thoughts on Emi Martinez, and no one rates him, but he's a big presence in their team. Like same for Argentina. He's not a shit goalkeeper. Like yes, he makes his mistakes, but he's still like he's one of the leaders of the team. We might take Konza off them. That might be another player that goes like genuinely.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah, if they lose Konza and they lose Watkins, that's probably a step too far. But based on what I know now, let's say they keep hold of Watkins, they keep hold of Konza. I just think there's going to be. I think it's going to be a really competitive league this year. I'm really excited about it because there's so much change, and I think they will be consistent enough to just get over the line or make fifth, basically. Roger, do you agree?
Can I just very quickly come in there because I hear you, bro, but I just can't agree. I think both losing both Morgan Rogers and Tielemans, I think already the heartbeat of that team is slowing. Watkins, none of us have rated Watkins for years. I don't know if you remember.
I rated Watkins.
We had a heated debate. We had a heated debate as to whether we should go for Watkins or not, and none of us thought it was a good idea. At that time, he wasn't scoring any goals. He wasn't contributing anything. So Watkins, I don't think, is the difference maker anymore. Maybe a few seasons ago, yes, but I don't think he is anymore. And to lose Morgan Rogers and to lose Tielemans, that were part of a settled team, I don't see how Villa versus United, which is what obviously, Miles, you went with United as well. That's a bit more of a settled team. Carrick has done well. Don't get me wrong; they're not the finished article, but I feel Villa's gone backwards, whereas United have actually kind of established themselves. That's why I wasn't picking Villa. So I just wanted to come in there very quickly, mate. I was like, I don't see it with Villa at the moment. I don't see it.
And to add to that as well, I think United will sign another player or two. I think they have to. I think they've only spent something like 40, 45. That's basically what Tielemans and who else did they buy? Someone else. Santos.
Andre Santos.
Yeah. I don't think they spent a lot basically, and I think they'll improve as well. Raj, you itching to say something?
No, just that the managers will be influential in this, right? So Emery's just incredibly experienced and resilient, and he just knows what he's doing. He always bounces back every year whenever they get gutted. They just played PSG in the Super Cup and played PSG off the park. And PSG basically did have their best team out. PSG won 2-1, but Villa were the more dominant side. And I think that just goes to the strength of him as a coach and just being able to take teams of the level of Villa and punch. Yeah, they've lost quite a few players. They have signed others, right? So Martinez has gone, but will probably go. But it looks like they're signing that Suzuki guy who PSG wanted to sign to replace him. And Man United, I think you have to factor in this will be their first season back with European football. They played no game last season. They played the lowest possible amount of football matches you can play in a season, literally the lowest. And so it's going to be a very, very different situation of playing the week as well with a manager who's never ever done it before. I don't think Man United will flop, by the way. I don't think that. If we were predicting the whole league, I would have put them as sixth. But I think that Villa, they always surprise, man. Like they always do. Like people write them off all the time, but I think because they've got Emery, and he's very settled there, I think they'll punch. So yeah, that's why I went for them basically just to edge out United.
Interestingly as well, I just had a look at the table from last season. United finished 6 points above Villa last season as well, and that was after United had an absolutely dreadful start to the season. So yeah, let's see. I guess the one that the next category is the one that we as Arsenal fans are most concerned with. So who's going to win the league? Have we all gone with the same team? We have.
Well, hey.
So we all predict Arsenal to win the league. I don't want to. I think we could talk about it, but let's not get into it because we could talk about it for ages. I want to, like I said, I want to get through all of these. So, Champions League winner. Pretty sure we all went with a different team. So Rajesh has gone with Real Madrid. I've gone with Barca. Aaron has gone with Arsenal, and Chooks has gone with PSG, retaining
Champions League for 3 seasons in a row, which will be unbelievable. So, Rajesh, Real Madrid, what's your thinking behind them winning it? Apart from it's Madrid in the Champions League.
Honestly, it's just that they're probably due, and it sounds like a really basic thing to say, but they're probably due given who they are. And actually, if you look at a lot of their players, a lot of the big names, Bellingham's coming off a pretty good World Cup. Mbappe's coming off a pretty good World Cup. Vinicius is okay. We'll see how that goes post contract. Obviously, they've added a couple of people. They've added Bernardo Silva. They've got Diamande, who they brought in. And let's not forget Jose. And obviously, Jose is, some may argue, a bit of a prehistoric manager at this point. But at the same time, he is a winner. He knows Real Madrid. And if there's someone who can manage the egos, like, it's him. So that's just why I went for them. To be honest, my second choice would have been Barcelona, actually. For whatever reason, I think it'll be a Spanish team this year. Even though, like Chooks, I completely see why you would say PSG. I mean, they're incredible. And the only reason, again, is that because has anyone won the European Cup 3 times in a row? Maybe they have back in the day, but PSG look just a little bit more fallible, like, because you forget a toss of a coin and we beat them in PSG. Actually, literally, I mean, if we, the multiple tosses of a coin for the penalty shootout, if they went slightly different ways, it may have been us. Like again, seeing them against Villa, it's like, so I don't know. That's the only reason. But yeah, sorry, long way of saying that's why I went for Real Madrid and no one else.
Yep. Okay. I mean, I'll just quickly go. Barca for me, quality of players that they've got. They've added Rodri now, but you think about the attacking talent they've got: Rafinha, Lamine Yamal,
Anthony Gordon.
Pedri, Anthony Gordon. They just added Adeyemi, is it? From Dortmund as well.
Yeah, from Dortmund.
Yeah, Kvasi at the back. Like, I think they've just got talented team. They looked really strong in the Champions League last season or last couple of seasons. They've won the league. So I think they're going to really attack the Champions League. So yeah, that's why I'm going for Barca. If it's not going to be Arsenal, I'm going to go for Barca. Aaron, so you said we're going to win as it stands the double. There's a couple more there to reveal. The double, like the proper double, the Premier League and Champions League double is coming to the Emirates this season. Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Basically, that was the logic. I was like, why not? Like, give me a good reason why we're not going to win it. Like Raj said. Mate, we were so close that day. I basically blocked it out how close we were in my mind because I don't want to. Like, I haven't since that night in Budapest. I haven't even watched highlights of that game. But like, we showed up until that final, and even during that final, that we can match anyone. Right? Atletico Madrid, we dispatched, and we did have a kind run like before that. But we earned that because we beat Bayern at home, we beat Inter away, and most of these teams we can take on because we've shown we're a proper European team now, and we just need that little bit of luck. And like I said, if the injuries don't kill us, and I take Chuck's point, like they pretty much seem to every year, because some of our players are basically just you're out for 6 months, as Chuck said, if the wind blows in one direction. But let's assume that doesn't happen.
Because I mean, we did sack all of our medical staff, didn't we? We replaced them all.
Yeah, like
so that might make a difference.
The big thing I go back is Saliba, right? Like if we get Saliba back in a reasonable time frame for the run in, we're as good a shout as any of those teams. Like, mate, there's so many flaws in Real Madrid. With Mourinho, who knows? Like, they could be fighting relegation. Like, if it goes wrong, like, he is just so much chaos. I have no idea why to this day Real Madrid have gone back in for him, and what Perez is actually hoping to achieve. Barcelona, yeah, like with Rodri, who knows? But like, yeah, there's still a little bit there that you think. You're right. I think Barcelona, I was 50-50 Arsenal, Barcelona. And then Chuck's PSG, yeah, you're right. I kind of just didn't go for them because I was like, surely they can't do it again, basically. Yeah. There's no science behind PSG not going PSG, but I think we've got as good a shout as anyone else. And why not this year? Because like we would have said last year, like, why not us for the league last year?
Dukes? PSG?
Boys, we are Arsenal. And what that means is the universe gives with one hand and takes away with the other. I see PSG becoming our European equivalent of our the European equivalent of our domestic Man City, right? I just see it. Where for a couple of seasons we could have won it, but Man City just had that curse over us, and they just won it over and over again. And literally, it could have been the other way, and we could have been the ones that were written in the history books. Again, I just see this, unfortunately, happening with PSG. I'm envious of PSG, and I am fearful of PSG anytime we draw against them, because they're a phenomenal team. They play phenomenal football, and they seem to be able to blow you away just with the way that they play. It was almost like, there are remnants of Man City there. And there's just this feeling I have that next season is going to be similar. We're going to get really close, but at some stage, we're just going to come up against PSG. They are just going to be our European Man City. And there's a call it whatever you want, psychological effect, etc. We're not going to be able to they will be the only ones that we cannot get past, and they will win it. I think that might happen. They've won it twice. I think it might happen again next year. And then perhaps it might be the year after that we finally do it. That is why I've gone with PSG, because I just don't see us fearing anybody else. I just don't see us struggling against anybody else, knock on wood. But I can see the trend that happened with City in Europe happening with PSG for us. That's why I've gone with them.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with PSG as well that's really annoying is that they obviously, in terms of their domestic league, it's not very competitive, right? So they are able to really, rotate best players. They can save players like Kvaratskhelia out, for the Champions League games, and it gives them that massive benefit when it comes to the latter stages. So yeah, I mean, look, I think you could probably look at all four of those teams. Are obviously four of the favourites, and it could potentially be any of those four. But yeah, fingers crossed, Aaron is right. Right, let's move on to the FA Cup and Carabao Cup. Again, probably don't want to get into these too much because at the end of the day, they're knockout competitions and probably the lower priorities for us this season, certainly the Carabao Cup. But in terms of the FA Cup, so Rajesh has gone with Liverpool, I've gone with Chelsea, as well as Chooks, and Aaron has gone for the treble with Arsenal again. So
I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good.
Okay, fair enough. Look, you're feeling positive, which is fair enough, man. Look, why not? Why not? As you said, I don't think it's really worth going into why. All Chelsea are a strong team, Liverpool is a strong team. I can kind of see the thinking behind all of those choices. Carabao Cup. So Raj's gone Chelsea for the Carabao Cup. I've gone with Spurs. I'm kind of thinking, why did I go with Spurs now? But yeah, I've gone with Spurs. Aaron input couldn't care less. We know Aaron's thoughts on the Carabao Cup from our WhatsApp chats. Every time the Carabao Cup comes around and someone gets injured, one of our big players gets injured in a meaningless game. Although he was there for the final with us, to be fair, at Wembley. And Chooks has gone with Man United. So look, we've gone with the big option, the big sides for both domestic cups. I don't think it's really worth getting into why too much. Relegation. So I think we've all gone with Hull to go down, and we've all gone with. Oh no, sorry. So 3 of us have gone with Coventry, and 3 of us have gone with Ipswich. And interestingly, me and Chooks have both said that Fulham will go down, and Ipswich will. No, I've said Ipswich will stay up. This is really confusing. And Chooks has said that Coventry will stay up. So yeah, Chooks, sounds like me and you are thinking the same kind of thing with Fulham's struggles this season. I just thought Ipswich. I think they've done some decent business this summer. They've signed some good players. I think they signed a couple of the Fulham guys actually, Lukic and Diop. And I think out of the 3 promoted teams, I basically didn't want to predict all 3 promoted teams to go straight back down. So that's one of the reasons why I said Ipswich would stay up. And yeah, I think Fulham will struggle. It's their manager is Arbeloa, isn't it now? And I think he might struggle. Is it Arbeloa? It is Arbeloa, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Arbeloa.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I just thought he might struggle. I wasn't impressed with him when he took over at Madrid midway through the season last season, I think it was. And I just think he might struggle. I've actually got him later on as my first manager to go. But anyway, so yeah, that's the reasons that I've gone with those three teams and Fulham to go down. Chooks, you also think that Fulham will go down?
Yeah, mate. I mean, yeah, listen, managerial and squad upheaval. For me, I just think they're going to really struggle. And that's why I've picked them. I didn't want to go with all three teams that have come up have gone down. I wanted to just do something a little bit different. Fulham just felt to me as if they're really gonna struggle this season. I just see it happening.
I mean, they lost Harry Wilson, who was their player of the season. I think he was the player of the season. They lost Jimenez as well. Like I said, they lost a couple of the guys.
Yeah, we signed that guy from Madrid, don't they?
Yeah, but I mean, I saw he scored like a decent number of goals, decent-ish number of goals last season, but then a whole bunch of them were in I think the Club World Cup.
Like, I remember that. That's the only thing I remember of him. I don't remember him doing anything else.
Ross has come in with a comment saying hot take Newcastle to go down.
I was actually going to go. I was 50-50 between Ipswich. I thought Ipswich might just creep up, stay up. I thought I was going to say Newcastle, but I thought that was a bit too
risky.
Like I just think that all three of the promoted teams this year are pretty. They just are pretty crap. And like Fulham, I don't think Fulham have actually like been flirting with relegation for a while. They always seem to just be like 10th. So I don't know, Fulham just seems to be one of those teams that will never go down.
A lot of people are predicting Fulham to go down. A
really?
lot. Yeah, a lot of people are predicting Fulham to go down this season.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Premier League Golden Boot. I don't think we need to talk about this one. We've all gone with Haaland. I don't know why the font's so small there. Apologies. But we've all gone with Haaland. I mean, yeah. Probably just move on, to be honest. It probably will be unless he picks up like a serious injury. Right. The next one is our top scorer, Arsenal's top scorer for the season. I didn't actually. Oh, that says Forest there already. Right. Apologies.
Spoiling my answer.
I know, man, sorry. I actually blame you for that because I sent you a list of like 14 things to fill in, and you missed one. So I had to retrospectively fill it in, and obviously, whatever automation or whatever you call it on here is it's cocked it up, mate. So I'm going to blame you for that. But anyway. Our top scorer, I didn't actually specify if that was Premier League or not, but whatever, right? Arsenal's top scorer this season. So I can't remember what everyone said for this. Okay, so Raj went with Havertz. Me and Chooks have both gone with Gyökeres, and Aaron's gone with Saka. Okay, so Raj, look, let's start with you. Kai Havertz. The fact that you've chosen him makes me think that you think he will be our main forward this season, or at least starting more than Gyökeres will?
Yeah, I think so. I think that the Champions League final probably told us some of the story, Havertz starting in that game. And I think that pound for pound, Havertz looks like a better foil for a lot of our other players. A lot of the reason why he didn't get as many minutes last season was injuries. Assuming he doesn't get injured, assuming he stays fit, and he's had a pretty good preseason, I think he'll start. I think he'll start more meaningful games than Gyökeres does, and he looks okay. Like he looks pretty good at the moment in preseason. He's moving well. He's finishing pretty well. Solis is clearly going to help with creation as well. If Odegaard, I predict Odegaard to have a good season. So I think if Odegaard has a good season, I think that will help him. With Gyök, I think Gyök will do just fine. But yeah, I think purely based on the fact that I believe that Havertz will start more, I think Havertz will be our top scorer.
So I was sort of torn between Kai and Gyökeres. I went with Gyökeres because I'm with you. I think at the moment Havertz is the clear sort of number one option as our striker. But I think, you know, and Arteta's spoken about it so much, right? You know, about finishers. I think Gyökeres is going to get his fair share of minutes. Like I said, I didn't specify whether this was league top scorer or just overall top scorer. So when you factor in all of the other competitions, I think Gyökeres is going to play lots and lots of games. I think when he's on the pitch, he's our number one penalty taker, or is it Saka? I'm not sure, but he's going to probably take a few penalties as well over Kai, over Havertz. And you know, second season in the league or second season in England, I think he'll do better. I mean, look, this is all kind of predicated by assumption that, you know, we don't sell him this window and bring in someone else like a Julian Alvarez, which would be pretty unbelievable if that happened, in terms of just be very, very surprising. But yeah, I think for those reasons I've gone with Gyökeres. He obviously knows how to find the back of the net, and he does seem to get goals, you know, against some of the weaker teams, which might be enough to mean that he's our top scorer. But before I come on to you, Chooks, to see if you kind of agree with me for my reasoning, Aaron, and you've gone with Saka, which, I mean, I don't think Havertz is going to stay fit for the whole season. I certainly don't think Saka is going to stay fit for the whole season. So I'm really interested to hear your reasoning.
I think it's just that big assumption, right? Like that I don't think he'll be out. I don't think he'll play every game, obviously. But I kind of took this as league top scorer rather than like all competitions, and I think we'll prioritize him for the league and Champions League. And look, assuming he stays fit, I just went off like how he looked in that World Cup game, the third place game against France, right? And he was just like, he was shooting from like, he was run down the middle, he was going out wide, and he was taking on his man. And I just think the quality bar is so like, he's just, people have forgotten how good he is, man. And assuming he stays fit, like I think Havertz is like I said, Havertz for me is the clear number one first choice striker. And then with Havertz in the team, with Odegaard in the team, obviously these are all big ifs. I think this team will go back to being just built around Saka. And I think he'll get goal. I don't know how many goals he got last year. Probably was like in the league, maybe 5 or 6 max, probably. But I don't think anyone really gets. I don't think anyone's getting 20. How many goals? 7. Did you say 7? Right.
7 in the league.
7. Yeah.
In all comps. Yeah. 7 in.
Yeah, you're lagging a bit, but yeah. So I think like I don't think our top scorer will get more than 15, and I'm still not very, I still don't rate Gyökeres that much, to be honest, in terms of what he will offer. He will get goals. He's an important player of the squad. He'll get the odd goal that is important. Havertz is a better player, but probably won't get that many goals himself. So yeah, that's why I'm going Saka. But obviously, if he doesn't play or he's not fit, then this prediction is pretty useless.
All right, and Chooks, you've gone for Gyökeres, same as me. Anything you want to add on Victor?
Oh, boys, we really need some new strikers. But,
how much of your Gyökeres prediction, Chooks, is just because you don't like Havertz?
That's what I'm saying. We need a new striker, right? I mean, look, for me, it was just straightforward. And I knew you were going to ask me that. And I am going to claim the fifth. I'm not going to say anything about the other striker, but for me, Gyökeres, he'll be the focal point. I think with Solis as well, he'll at least get a bit more fed, a bit more from the left too. So that should create enough volume for him to kind of bang a few more goals, which is why I'm going for him as our top scorer. I just, in the absence really of anybody else. But I would love for us to just sign another striker. I really would.
All right, cool. Okay, Arsenal's player of the season split 50-50. So Rajesh and Aaronen, there's a bit of a theme coming here where I feel like Raj and Aaronen have got a very similar mindset than me. It's
quite rare, that.
Me and Chooks. It is. But yeah,
it is rare. So, I don't know how I feel about this.
It's going to change pretty soon. As soon as we play Coventry, it will change. Anyway, look, Raj has gone with Odegaard as well as Aaronen. I have gone with Declan Rice, as has Chooks. Odegaard, like, okay, sorry, I know that you guys are going to explain sort of why you've gone for Odegaard. Odegaard was unbelievable on Sunday against Man City, right? Like, it literally watching him play, the way he played and how he dominated that midfield, and just it was like watching Odegaard from what, 22, 23 or 23, 24. It was, he rolled back the years. But I think that's the problem, right? For me, number one, Odegaard is in that bracket of players that will probably pick up an injury this season. That means he's out for a couple of months at least. Whereas Declan Rice, okay, I mean, he's carrying probably a number of things at the moment, but he's probably good to last the season or play the majority of the season and stay fit and play through whatever kind of pain that he might have. But I think also with Odegaard, there's just nothing to suggest. Yes, he's had his injury problems the last couple of seasons, but he would have to be unbelievably consistent in terms of fitness. Well, first of all, fitness, which is massively key, but then also just staying at that same level, which is not something that we've seen from him for a long, long time now, to even be in the conversation for player of the season. I think the players that will be in the conversation will be Declan Rice, David Raya, Gabriel. I'd probably say Bruno Guimaraes, I reckon. And possibly Saka, if Saka stays fit. I don't even think Odegaard's going to be in the conversation for player of the season, me personally. So, I mean, yeah, Rajesh, Aaron, do you want to just kind of give us your reasons for Odegaard?
Can I just throw in a very quick controversial one? If he continues to produce like he did at the Charity Shield match, MLS.
I don't know if MLS will even start like that. I mean, this is probably a separate conversation, but I get where you're coming from, Chooks. Who wants to talk about Odegaard then?
I think the only thing with Odegaard, right, is that there is recency bias to some degree. We are kind of scarred by last season, and he was really poor last season. When he wasn't injured, he was clearly slowly recovering from injury. You could never quite tell if he was fit or not, and when he wasn't playing well, he allegedly wasn't fit, and so I think there was a bit of distaste from last season. But actually, if you exclude last season, even the season before that, his numbers were okay. He had 17 goals and assists across all comps. It's not that bad, and above 20 the two before. So really, I'm looking at last season, and my assumption was that he was he was on the kind of way down. But from what I've seen in pre-season, it's just given me a glimpse of hope that maybe he's had the right break. He's just kind of had the right preparation in pre-season. He's coming back with a slightly different confidence, mindset, you name it, whatever. Maybe we've made some tactical tweaks. As I said, we look like we're playing a lot more centrally now, and maybe that helps him. So it's for those reasons, really, Mize, to be honest. Like, if he's playing well, things will go through him, and he will. It's kind of binary, right? Like, so that's really where I'm leaning on that. I couldn't think of anyone else who I believed would be. I can't see Saka. I know, like, Aaron's got a lot of faith in Saka kind of having a renaissance season. I can't really see it. And with Rice, amazing. I think he'll have another great season. But I think he might play a bit less, but just to keep him, fresh and fit and whatever. And I think a lot of minutes will be shared in that kind of 6 and 8 positions between 4 or 5 players. So that's really what the main drivers behind Odegaard for me. Aaron, and I don't know if you had any other kind of points to make about Odegaard.
Yeah, I agree. There's no like science or statistical approach to this one. I just think he's gonna surely come into this season with a bit of a point to prove. Like, I keep going back to those 4 guys like him, Havertz, Saka, Marino. Like, they probably feel like they didn't really contribute that much to winning the league last year. So this is like I almost like deserve to be here type thing. And I just think Arteta loves him, right? So the minute he gets even a little bit of form, Arteta will just build the team around him. And like, it's already pretty much built around him, and working the ball over to the right hand side. And I think this team was just designed for Odegaard to just step up a bit. I was going to go Rice, but again, I just feel like we got lucky with him being available pretty much all season and just playing out of his skin for pretty much all of it, bar a little dip.
Not really, though, mate.
That I
Not
think
really.
kind of happened in Feb.
Sorry to interrupt. Not really, though, because he's played something. I mean, yes, lucky in the sense, to have a player that good to stay fit, but he's done that for the last 3 seasons in a row. I think he's played an average of like 60, 65 games a season, including...
Yeah. I guess, that's the player, right? But I just meant by Arsenal standards rather than player standards, which is like, it's inevitable. Like, we don't even know how fit he is now. Like, it sounds like we ran him into the ground, and for England, he basically rocked up a bit broken. I just assume that the consequence of that and the fact that Bruno is around, who can also kind of do what he does if needed, will just mean that we'll be far more comfortable just being like, you know what, just sit out this one because we've got someone else who can do it.
Okay. Chooks, anything to add on Declan Rice as your choice?
Yeah. Again, I know this was, for me, just relatively straightforward. Rice is like the heartbeat of the team. We've seen him season after season delivering, and if he stays fit, which I don't see much evidence to say that he won't. There are people who produce moments. There are people who can kind of get the goals, but Rice is just a heartbeat, and I just see him just being player of the season again. I don't see anybody. Maybe Bruno, right, might be able to challenge that, but I think it will take him a little while to get up to speed. Rice, he's just there. And as we've all had the debate before, should Rice even be the captain potentially of the team? So my view is, I think he's just going to be player of the season again. I don't think there's any doubt about it.
I feel like we've all disrespected David Raya.
Yeah, well, I mentioned it before. Yeah, unbelievable player, really. I think he was definitely in my thoughts as a potential option, but yeah, okay. Let's talk about, right, next one is a not Arsenal related Premier League flop team. So what team do we think is going to flop this season in the league? So Raj has gone with Fulham, but obviously didn't predict them to go down. So I guess that means you think that they're going to just about survive maybe. I've gone with Newcastle. Pretty obvious reasons to why I've gone with Newcastle, but I think they're going to really struggle this season. Aaron, and you've gone with Bournemouth, which I think is a big call, obviously post Iraola life. And Chooks, you've gone with Liverpool. So you obviously, Chooks, you didn't put Liverpool in your top 5 then, obviously, right? I'm just trying to remember now.
So no. Do you want me to explain why I'm going to say I've said Liverpool, right, is the flop team?
It's not because I'm not. Sorry, just to clarify.
Hold on.
You can go back and
Let
check.
me quantify.
I can't remember. I can't remember. I can't go back. I'm asking a genuine question. It's not me taking the piss. My Raj is laughing. I'm assuming that he was in it. Okay.
I swear Liverpool are in his top 5. Maybe finishing the same or higher than they did last season.
Hold on. Let me explain why I've put Liverpool as the flop team. I'm not saying Liverpool will be bad, right? This is all about context. What I'm saying is, relative to the size of the club that Liverpool are, an expectation of like 5th or 6th, which is, I can see them finishing potentially around 5th, right? I think that would constitute a flop, as far as I'm concerned. They finished 5th last season. That's the thing, right? So they finished 5th last season. They've now got a manager in Iraola.
Yeah.
And they've got that new manager. They've got significant kind of defensive change. And that's going to take time to gel. With Kanate's gone and Robertson's gone. So for me, I just think everyone just assumes, Liverpool is Liverpool. They're going to bounce back because they're Liverpool. I'm just not convinced, right? I'm saying new manager, change of defense. Salah's gone as a post-Salah era. I just see a transition season for Liverpool, whilst Arsenal and City and Chelsea and United just finish above them. So for me, that's why that's why I'm saying I think they're going to have a flop season. It's going to be a natural flop season for them. So that's why I wanted to quantify it.
I just want to add to what Chooks has said as well. Raj is still laughing. I just want to add to what Chooks has said as well, is that I've got on my notes here where in my top 5, I put Liverpool in there, but I put in brackets just because I'm with you in the sense when you look at their squad now, Chooks, it looks dire. It looks dire. But obviously, I've gone for a different team. I've gone for Newcastle, but I think Newcastle are going to fall off massively because of the players that they've lost. Like they've been gutted. Like, their whole team's been gutted. They've lost their manager, and I think they're just going to really, really struggle. But yeah, look, the other one I'm really interested in. Well, actually, I'm interested in both Rajesh choosing Fulham and Aaron choosing Bournemouth. All right, Rajesh, let's go with you first then. Fulham. Why Fulham, mate?
Get relegated.
We'll find out
No,
next
I really
season.
agree that they are going to really, really struggle. Sorry, but they. I can see them just avoiding relegation. But I think that they will really struggle. So just very similar reasons to what you guys gave for putting them in the bottom 3.
Okay. Cool. And then Aaron,
they've not done any business of note apart from those like Real Madrid players on a free, basically.
Okay. And Aaron's gone with Bournemouth to be the flop team.
Yeah, I think a couple of things, right? Like they've obviously lost Iraola, who I think is quality, and I think Liverpool have done really well there in getting him. Obviously, there's a bigger question, which might prove that Chicks is right, which is can that squad actually play Iraola football and press in the way that that team can press? I'm not sure, but I think they've got Marco Rose in, and they've lost Krupi to an injury. They've lost what's his name? To the guy who's gone to Tottenham, Senesi. Is that his name? Yeah. And I think they've signed a centre back, and they're also in Europe this year, which is like that's a lot for Bournemouth, right? And I think they're going to be, if they get top 10, they'll have done really well. But I think they could be flirting with relegation this year, and I think if they somehow manage to retain a European place this year, that is a phenomenal achievement. Given the players that I think they did an incredible job to get Europe, and obviously win us a league on that last day, the midweek of the last week, and they will forever have a place in all of our hearts. But I just think it's a step too far, and just like a lot of those teams who get Europe, it does hurt them a bit and just means that they really struggle the next year.
I mean, even Bournemouth as a team, like last season or maybe the last couple of years, but last season especially was, they just exceeded expectations. Like when you think of Bournemouth, they are a championship team really that have now established themselves in the Premier League. So you could argue that even if they flopped, but they came 13th, 14th, 15th, that's still like surviving basically, right? Like considering the size.
Yeah, fine. If you want to put it that way, then yeah, it's hard. Like any season that Bournemouth survive they've done a good job, right? But I think just going off what they did last season versus what they'll do this year, I think they could have the biggest drop off in terms of like league position.
Okay. Let's move on because we've got a few more to cover and we are pushing an hour and 15 minutes into this pod. So next one is the surprise team of the Premier League. So Rajesh has gone with Spurs. I mean, I've gone with Brentford. Aaron, as we saw before, if you're watching, went with Forest. Sorry about that. And Chooks has gone with Leeds. So Raj, we'll go with you first then, in order. You've gone with Spurs as the surprise team. Out of interest, when you've chosen Spurs and you've gone with them as your surprise team, what does that actually mean in terms of like a league finish?
Yeah, it's fair. It's just a cop-out answer because they've been 17th or whatever it is 2 seasons in a row. I just therefore don't think that they will finish 17th. I think that they may finish in the top half. And so it's just a cop-out answer from that respect. I just don't think they'll be terrible again.
Fair enough. Where do you think they're going to finish out of interest?
I think they'll do okay. I don't think they'll finish like top 5. Obviously, as you saw from my predictions before, I can see them finishing 7th or 8th 8th maybe.
Okay. Aaronen, you gone with Forest?
Yeah, I think this is just more the Glasner effect. Where I think he could just do what he did to Palace and just really help them, progress, right? Obviously, they've lost some good players. Like Elliot Anderson was the big one, right? But yeah, it was more like I don't know if like I did think about Spurs as like being the most improved, but that was more like that's not really a surprise if they improve, right? Because if they don't improve, that's just a massive failure on all parts. So I was just trying to think like who could really improve that you wouldn't really expect to improve, and I think Forest could be the one that I think could just really push on because they're a big club, right? They're a big club, and I think they'll start maybe just acting a bit more like a big club rather than a promoted team.
Okay. And Chooks, you've gone with Leeds.
Again, I wanted to just go with something a little bit different. For me, Leeds, they finished 14th last season, right? And that is a little bit of a red herring because if you look actually for the second half of the season, they were actually, I think they were like 7th in terms of the form table for the second half of the season. So clearly the first half of the season was a bit of a struggle, but the second half of the season significantly improved. And a large reason for that was because the manager switched to like a 3-5-2 formation, and that worked, right? And so his philosophy started to land. That's Fark, the manager. His philosophy started to land. They performed much stronger in the second half. They've also strengthened their team. They brought in James Trafford, who's actually a really decent player. So I just feel that there's a route to them finishing kind of at least top 10, somewhere in the top 10, and from there they're in the European conversation football, which would be a real surprise for them. So that's why I've gone with Leeds as the surprise team. Just that combination, I can just see them doing well. For them, relative to them.
Yeah, I get you. I mean, I've gone with Brentford, and look, Brentford have been really strong the last couple of seasons. I think sort of finished around 9th or 10th the last couple of years. So maybe not necessarily a surprise team. I just think they'll be strong again. I really like what sort of Keith Andrews is doing there. I don't think they've lost any kind of major players from last season. I think they've added a couple of good players. Is it Sangare, who they've added? It looks like a really good player. So yeah, I think they might push. They were very close to Europe last season in terms of points. I think they were only like 3 or 4 points off finishing in the European places. So yeah, I think they'll push for Europe again. I think they'll be strong again. So that's why I've gone with them. Okay, first manager sacked. Raj has gone with Daniel Farker. I've gone with Arbeloa on Fulham, so I've kind of already spoken about Fulham and why I think they'll struggle. Aaronen's gone with Spurs and De Zerbi. And Chooks, you've gone with the whole manager. I'm glad you put whole brackets because I wouldn't have been able to tell you that's who he managed. But yeah, okay. So maybe we won't spend too long on this because three of us have gone with managers of teams that are probably going to struggle this season. Obviously, Aaron, and probably the most interesting one there is you've gone with De Zerbi. Maybe we'll just talk about De Zerbi actually, because I'm conscious of time. So obviously that means.
Can I quickly do? I'll quickly just fucking because it relates to what Chooks was saying about Leeds, right? So because you're completely right, Chooks, about when he switched tactics and that kind of turned everything around. But the interesting thing about that, which has a connection to a theory people have about this window, is Farker really fell out with the owners massively and they really wanted to sack him. And then he made that change and he basically backed them into a corner where they couldn't sack him because his results were so good immediately afterwards. But essentially, the theory is that they've still got a terrible, terrible relationship. And it's why he hasn't been back this window. For example, like James Trafford is someone that they would have probably signed regardless of who the manager was, because he could probably be their keeper for ages and blah, blah, blah. But they've not really supported him outside of that. Harry Wilson, fine, whatever. But they haven't really supported him properly. And the theory is that actually their relationship is still quite strained. So the moment shit starts looking a little bit poor, they'll take the opportunity to get rid of him. That's just what my theory is. Otherwise, like, you're completely right about how he changed and really turned things around in the second half of the season, for sure.
I guess if I just go very quickly, Hull,
Yeah.
Jakirovic, because I just think they're gonna just be shit. That's it.
Short and sweet. I love it. All right, Aaron, the Zerbi game.
I was trolling a little bit with this one. And like, I think if I was doing a sensible prediction where I'd do like something, because it's very unlikely that any of the 10 new managers in the league this year or whatever it is are going to be the first one sacked. I count De Zerbi as like a new manager. I just think this guy's just a nutter, right? Like, so it'll either really, really work out very well for Spurs, and probably, do what Raj said, which would be the most improved team. Some people are predicting they'll finish 5th or 6th or push. They've signed some high potential players, but he has been backed now, right? And he loves to complain that he hasn't been backed, and I think that's why he ended up leaving Brighton in the end. But there's every chance that he just falls out with all of his players in like 3 weeks, and then you've got a problem where you've got this really expensive assembled squad. Like, how much did they pay for Tonali? I don't even remember how much. It was a ludicrous amount. It was more than 100 million, right?
Well, 100, yeah.
Yeah, it was 100 million. Let's just say he falls out with Tonali on like after 2 weeks, right? They can't get rid of the 100 million pound player. So they have to then just they have to, like, if it's like, it could easily just, this is the club that sacked their interim manager after 3 games, right? Anything is possible with this club, and you are putting a high intensity manager into the most chaotic club in football. So, like I said, the odds are it probably works out, and based on what we saw last season, unfortunately, it probably will work out. But there is a non-zero chance that it could go terribly wrong very quickly, and that's going to be really funny. So that was kind of why I did it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the bar is so low, right, for Tottenham, like Raj was saying about kind of, where they might finish. Top half is arguably at the moment a pretty good result for them come the end of the season. So, but I hear you. I see the thinking. All right, cool. Last couple. So Premier League transfer flop. 2 of us have gone for Elliot Anderson. Promise, Raj, I didn't copy you. Aaron, and you've gone with Tonali, and you've just spoken about him. So, both of those, and actually, sorry, Chooks has gone for Morgan Rogers. So all 3. Sorry,
he's gone for the one that plays for Chelsea, though,
as opposed to yeah. So all the massive summer signings and big transfer fees associated to both. Just very quickly on Elliot Anderson, right? Like, I think naturally he's going to play in a City team that will have a lot of the ball, so he's probably not going to get exposed that often. But equally, I think when he does get exposed, I think there's a couple of things in my thinking behind Elliot Anderson. One is that when he gets exposed, I think it's going to be like really high profile, like in the Champions League, for example. Like, I know he played in the World Cup and he played every game in the World Cup, and he's obviously England's kind of go-to defensive midfielder. But from because I watched him quite closely in the World Cup, and I'm just not impressed with him at all from an attacking perspective. Like, he's great at the job that he has to do, and I think, again, in a team like City's, maybe that might be enough. But I just think, basically he's essentially replacing Rodri. He is no Rodri. He can't lace Rodri's boots, not at all. And yeah, I just think anything that involves him progressing the ball, passing through the lines, like, he never takes that option. He always goes sideways. He's a very, very safe player, and anytime he does try something creative, I just noticed it just never came off. He was giving the ball away a lot. So I think, obviously, yeah, you add all of that to the transfer fee. I think they've massively overpaid for him, and I just don't think he's worth anywhere near that. But I think he might not actually flop because it's Man City, and they might still have a pretty good season whether he does well or not. But that was my thinking behind Elliot Anderson. Raj, have you similar?
Similar. It's got a lot to do with the fee.
Yeah.
So for such a high fee, the expectations on the guy, like you say, he's coming into a team in transition. Rodri's not there. He did not look comfortable in the Community Shield. I know it's a community, a week away from the start of the season. I'm not sure. Maybe if he was playing for a Pep City, the settling in would be, etc. I think he's going to struggle. I think in a worst case scenario, he ends up like Calvin Phillips.
Okay.
Bold, cool. I do agree with you, by the way. I think that Man City midfield it looks rough all of a sudden, man. Like, because he's going to be. There's no Rodri. That's a big difference. No Rodri, no Pep in that City team, and then he's basically been playing alongside Kovacic and I forgot his name, Nico Gonzalez, right? But I saw he was even linked with Newcastle today.
I think Foden's probably going to come back into the team, whether he plays in sort of the middle or further forward. But yeah, Kovacic.
But that's not. That is not.
Or if they sign that Buardi.
Oh yeah, if they sign him, then again, but they're looking at paying 100 million for him as well, right? Which is insane. They're going to be rocking up with 200 million plus central midfielders. Is pretty insane. I do really like Anderson, though. I think he's a very good player, but when you put that price tag on him and then you put him in that midfield where I think he could just get a little bit exposed if he's not surrounded by the right players. Yeah, I was very tempted to go with Anderson.
You went with Tonali. Is that price tag mainly, Aaron?
Yeah, I just don't think he's £100 million player. Where the hell has that come from? Why? I think that's absolutely bonkers. I think he's a decent player for a team like Tottenham. He would probably he will make Tottenham better. I'm not denying that. But I cannot believe they paid that much for him. And I could look silly, and he could. Spurs fans would say if he gets that team from 17th to 8th, he's probably worth 100 million. I disagree, but I just think maybe I'm quite old school about this. The minute you have 100 million plus figure on your transfer, I know the players don't control it, but you have to be in conversation to be one of the best in the world in your position. And I do think on his day, Elliot Anderson can be up there, to be fair, but just he needs the right system, and I don't think City is the right place for him to realise that. But I've just never, when you consider the top central midfielders in the world, I don't think you consider Tonali, and I don't think you put him on that list.
Yeah. Okay. And Chooch, you've gone with Morgan Rogers, the Chelsea one.
Mate, he had a chance to come to the Gunners. He didn't. He thought they valued him. We valued him at 70, 80 million. Chelsea went and paid well over 100 million for him. He's not a 100 million pound player. I mean, I think he's, don't get me wrong, he's a skillful guy, but he's not that difference maker. So there's no way he's worth that price tag. He's gone to Chelsea. Big expectations, new manager, a team that isn't gelling and hasn't gelled for a very long time. And even at Villa, there are periods of the season that he just went missing, completely missing, was ineffective, wasn't contributing anything. I can see it happening again at Chelsea with that massive price tag. He should have come to the Arsenal when he had the chance. He didn't. I see him being a flop at Chelsea, and he's going to pay the price.
Strong words. Okay. I mean, yeah, like I said, we've all gone with big money signings this summer. So, yeah. I mean, look, I think you can make a case for all three of them, to be honest. I don't disagree with any of you guys. So, yeah, Anderson, Tonali, Rodgers could all potentially be flops. I do think Rodgers will do all right at Chelsea, to be fair. I think they've overpaid for him, as you say, Chooks, but I do like him as a player, obviously. Wanted him to sign for Arsenal. I think he'll do well. Whether Chelsea actually do well is another question. But all right,
Russ agrees with me.
He does.
Russ agrees with me.
He does.
Yep.
Yes, agreed. He does. I pulled up his comment on the screen a few seconds ago. All right, cool. The final one is the hot take for the season. So a slightly out there, contentious opinion. This is really small, so I'm going to read it out in case you can't read it. So Raja said, the English teams will struggle in Europe and fifth won't get Champions League. I've said City will struggle to make the top 4 this season. Top 4, okay, maybe top 5 might be enough, maybe not. And Haaland leaves next summer. I don't know if that's controversial or not, but anyway, Aaron said Man United won't make it into Europe. So that sounds like they finish outside the top 7, I think that means. And Chooks, I mean, you spoke about this a little bit before, right, with Liverpool. Liverpool miss out on the Champions League again. They're in the Champions League this season, aren't they?
Yeah, they are actually. Sorry, mate.
Okay, no, I'm just checking. I'm not going mad. Okay, cool. Yeah. Right, okay. Okay, let's go with Raj first then. So the English teams will struggle in Europe and 5th won't get the Champions League. I mean, that's an interesting take because generally for the last, I don't know how many years that's not been the case. English teams, tend to do pretty well in Europe, and at least getting to the latter stages. And obviously we've dominated the Europa League quite a bit, I think, the last few years. What's the thinking behind that one, Raj?
I think it's going to be a really fun season. I mean that from the perspective that it's going to be super competitive for the champion spots, because I think so many teams are going to realistically think that they've got a chance of being in the top 5 teams this season. I think it's going to be really, really, really cool. But I think as a result of that, I don't think we're going to have one of these seasons where teams are able to sort of their eye off the Premier League games in any way. And I think last season, some of the teams were able to do that. I felt that they were able to sort of manage fixtures and try and sort of, occasionally rest players before European games, etc. But I think that this season is going to take a lot out of teams. I think it's going to take a lot out of teams. I think Chelsea, the fact that Chelsea don't have any European football, and I think they're going to be really, really up for it up there. So they're going to be sort of really, having some sort of not unfair advantage, but they've got an advantage over some of the teams like Man United, etc., who are in Europe. So it's really that. I just, I guess if it's got to be a little bit, out there. I suppose. So I think what I'm saying will happen. Well, I'm not sure. Like probably not. I think they'll still do enough to get 5th. But my hot take potentially is that they they struggle enough that 5th doesn't get it, and then someone's left very disappointed at the end of the season.
Okay. My one, I'll just go in order. My one was City to struggle to make the top 4. I put top 4. Raj said maybe 5th won't get Champions League this season. So basically, what I'm saying is I think they're just going to struggle much more compared to their levels of the previous 10, 15 years. Look, post Pep, I think Maresca will need to find his feet in a huge job and a huge set of shoes to fill. They're in transition. They've lost Rodri. They've lost Bernardo Silva. They lost KDB a season or 2 ago. Like big players, big changes in their team. I don't think Donnarumma looks fantastic at as a goalkeeper anymore. I just think that they will lose quite a few games this season, and I think maybe there's a little bit of me hoping that they don't challenge us for the league this season as well. But I think as a result, they'll struggle to make top 4. And I just think with Haaland, again, I don't know if that's necessarily a big call, because there's probably a lot of talk about Haaland moving in the next couple of years now that Pep's gone. But I think he'll just be looking for a new challenge. He's basically conquered the Premier League, proven what he needs to prove. He's won everything. So I think if one of the big European teams, if Madrid, Barca, come calling, I think he'll go PSG. Maybe I think he'd go. So that's my one, Aaron. And you've gone with United not to make Europe. So you're saying no European football at all?
Yeah, I just think. I think Raj said it earlier. They basically played. They went out of the League Cup in the 2nd round or something, or 3rd round, whatever it was. Went out of the FA Cup in the 3rd round. Didn't have Europe. And now they're going to have 8 games in the Champions League to deal with. Probably another 3 or 4 cup games, like 2 or 3 more, and it's a season they get to like the 5th round of both those competitions or the quarterfinals or whatever. That's like an extra 15 games for them. I think there was a pattern basically that the only time they dropped points was basically when they had to play a midweek game in that last run in. And then, yeah, they've improved the squad a little bit, but they've added Tielemans, they've added who's the other guy? I can't remember. Yeah, they've added a few players, but like nothing. They're not game changers. They've added a bit of depth, and they need that depth to compete in Europe. But I think if they go even a little bit deep in Europe, and I think I can see United just being that team that just get a run and make a Champions League quarterfinal or something like that. I think they'll get so carried away with that, they will just inevitably like have an away game after European game, go to somewhere like Sunderland away and just drop points, and that'll be just a consistent theme of their season, and they'll finish 7th or 8th or whatever it is. And I think that'll be quite funny.
Very interesting. I think out of the four of us, that's probably the biggest hot take, really, because like I said, I've got them to finish in the top 4, top 5. So I think they'll do well this season. I think they're going to do really well.
I want to clarify on Chucks's one, which is did you not predict Liverpool to finish top 5 in your predictions, Chucks?
Mate, I don't. Were you like asleep? We already had this. I've already said, right? I have already said that. Look, that it's a hot take. Yes, I did predict that Liverpool would potentially finish 5th, but my hot take is they could miss out on Europe. So my prediction was they are going to finish 5th, but they could easily fall out of the Champions League spot. That's what I'm saying in terms of a hot take, because I just think that they're going to struggle this season, right? So I've quantified it, I've justified it. I don't know what else I need to say to give my perspective.
They're going to finish
what else
5th,
do you want from
be the
me?
Premier League flop team and miss out on Champions League.
I clearly.
Yeah, I still think it's funny. I still think it's funny that.
Go on, Raj.
Exactly, that's it. So they finished last season in the Champions League spots. They finished 5th. You think they're going to have a transition year and flop and finish in exactly the same position?
And miss out on the Champions League
Or worse, man. Or worse.
All right. That was good fun. I like that. I guess we can revisit at the end of the season in May and see how wrong we were. But look, hopefully there is one prediction on there, at least one, that we were all correct on, which is Arsenal to win the Premier League this season. At the very least, let's hope that we're coming back in May and that's what we're celebrating, back-to-back league titles. Look, we've been going for...
I hope we do revisit this, by the way, Miles, because
we'll do it.
Previous seasons, I have made some very clear and correct predictions, and we've never gone back to appreciate the predictions. So I hope we do.
Okay, fair play. We shall. We'll be there in May. Look, we've been going for a long time. So if you've stuck with us, thank you so much. If you've got to the end of the episode, thank you so much. There's one final thing that we said we were going to talk about, but we'll just do a very quick go around the table and get everyone's score predictions for Friday. Season kicks off. It's Arsenal versus Coventry City at the Emirates Stadium. I'll go first really quickly. So, I mean, yeah, without too much analysis, we should be winning this game very comfortably. So I'm going to go with a 3-0 win. I think it'll be a comfortable Arsenal win. Chooks?
Yeah, just to be different, I was going to go with 3-0, so I'm going to go with 4-0. Okay. But I agree with you. I think it's going to be very comfortable.
Aaron?
Similar, but I think they'll score. So 3-1.
Okay. And Raj?
Initially, I was going to go 3-0, and then I want to be different, so I was going to go 4-0. But I don't think we're going to win 5-0. So I'm actually going to go with 3-0 as well, Miles.
Okay, cool. Oh, by the way, I didn't tell you guys, so I'm actually going to be getting predictions from you guys every single game. Well, let's say every single Premier League game, because I think it'll be too much to do for every game. And we're going to be tracking, because like Chooks, right? Like you said, there's no traceability back to, what did we actually predict? So I'm going to track it all. We'll do like a little predictions league points thing, and So we'll see how that goes, and we'll see who comes out on top at the end of the season between the Arseholics. All right, guys, look, if you've stuck with us, like I said, thank you so much.
Before we stop, Aaron, are you coming back next one?
I'll see you this time next year, mate. After we've won the Champions League, FA Cup, and Premier League.
He only came back to won the league. That was it, mate.
Yeah, that's it. This is the celebration podcast.
Cat A+ fan. Right there. Yeah, I think there were a few technical issues. Obviously, we started late, we joined late, so apologies for that. There were a few technical issues, so also apologies for that. We'll try and iron those out before the next time we record. Well, tomorrow I'll be speaking to Chan. But otherwise, look, thank you so much for joining. Thank you, boys, for joining me. Been a really good chat, and we'll speak to everyone very, very soon. Take care, guys.